have been concerned about reported irregularities in foreclosure practices at a number of large financial institutions. The federal banking agencies are working together to complete an in-depth review of practices at the largest mortgage servicing operations. We are looking intensively at the firm's policies, procedures, and internal controls related to foreclosures and seeking to determine whether systematic weaknesses are leading to improper foreclosures.
Well, that was Ben Bernanke. The feds are going to investigate, if they do as well, investigating foreclosure fraud as they did helping victims of mortgage crimes. Should we relax? I doubt it. The Bank of America has admitted to fraudulently foreclosing on 4%. That's approximately 4,500 homeowners. What happens now to them and to us? We check in with GRITtv housing correspondent Sarah Ludwig, who is co-director of Neighborhood Economic Development Advocacy Project. Sarah, do you feel hugely relieved that the feds are on the case of this foreclosure story?
I'm going to hear that as a rhetorical question. It's sort of one of these situations where a problem that's been brewing for a very long time, that people who work with homeowners on the ground have been very aware of, that the courts should have been aware of, and the banks and servicers were aware because they were perpetrating the fraud. It's one of these issues that has been brewing and brewing and brewing, and it breached the surface, and now it's getting lots of attention.
And will it get more attention this time more quickly, better and more quickly? Because the latest report on the mortgage help by the administration is that the Treasury itself overstated how much help it had given and understated the problem. Is there any evidence to suggest they might do better this time around?
Well, it all depends what's going to happen. In a way, it's a good thing that all of this has been, it's a great thing it's been exposed because of the attention that it's getting. But let's just break it down for a second. There are upwards of 4 million foreclosures that have already taken place since 2007. And we're bracing ourselves for another 10 million foreclosures by 2012. And a lot of it is because of really abusive and fraudulent practices that were set in motion, 10 years ago that led to our financial meltdown, our economic crisis, and so forth. So this revelation that, in fact, mortgage servicers that are filing foreclosure actions against homeowners to get their homes are by the hundreds of thousands, conceivably, are filing fraudulent affidavits saying that they actually own the mortgage. There's this pervasive fraud going on, which is really just sort of a new phase in the abuses that we've been seeing for all this time.
But one of the public faces of the abuse has been a woman called Lisa Epstein, others as well, but she's gotten a lot of attention on Fox News. And here's her story in brief. Take a look.
I was in contact with my mortgage servicer, and over an 8-month period where I was really trying hard to preserve my near-perfect credit rating, I found out that there were 4 financial institutions that all seemed to be somehow either own or were entitled to enforce the note and mortgage. And my essential question was, if I paid this off, if I was able to borrow the money to pay off the entire promissory note, where would I get the satisfaction from? And it appeared that 4 financial institutions were raising their hands saying, oh, pay us, and we'll say it was satisfied. Then we started looking in the public records and found that the satisfactions of mortgage all appear to be improper or of dubious authenticity.
Is that what you're seeing with your members at NEDAP?
Well, the groups that we work with around New York have been seeing this for a very long time, which is that the companies, the mortgage servicers that are bringing these lawsuits can't actually prove that they own the mortgage. And that is a very basic fundamental aspect of our law, which
So how are they managing to foreclose on people? I remember Marcy Kaptur taking to the floor of Congress saying, if your bank can't produce the document proving they own your house, they can't take it away from you.
Well, if the way mortgages, foreclosures work around this country varies by state. In 27 states in this country, you don't even have to go to court to foreclose on someone's home. So these are done just sort of by, procedures that this sort of paper. In New York and 22 other states across the country, you have to go to court and get the court to sign off. And most foreclosures, the great lion's share, are processed without the homeowner stepping forward. They're not opposed in court. So there's been this sort of rubber stamping of these mortgages. The industry and many people in the mainstream media have been sort of depicting this whole crisis as just mere technicality, that this is just another opportunity for people to talk about homeowners as victims and to vilify the banks. But actually, this is about fraud. I mean, this is about rampant, pervasive fraud.
But the mortgage crisis was about fraud, too, and
Correct.
about crimes committed, and people lied to, and people talked into mortgages they couldn't afford. We didn't see justice there. We haven't yet. Will we see it here? And will the feds be any tougher? They're already now saying they don't believe in a moratorium.
Yeah, they're saying they don't believe in a moratorium. We've heard that from the administration, from some of the banking agencies, that will disrupt the mortgage market. It'll be harmful to our economy. There are state attorneys general around the country that are investigating this, and some of them are talking about a moratorium. But you're also seeing this as a really great catalyst for some of the organizing that's going on around the country, where groups are able to say, see, this is what we're talking about. This is pervasive. These practices are rancid, and they go all from the beginning stage when these loans were marketed all the way to the foreclosure.
Now, let's talk about the election just briefly. One of the most viewed clips of the New York gubernatorial debate, madhouse that it was that clip of the guy from the Rent is Too Damn High party. What he said resonated widely across the country. It even resonated on that panel. All of the candidates found themselves, they had taking a strong position on the question of rent. Where is the profile of this issue, apart from that, in this race?
You know, you're not hearing people running for office jumping up and down about the scandal of the foreclosure crisis. It's absent from the public debate, except where it's really forced. So, you know, we talk about that all the time, is where are our elected officials? As I said before, there are some state attorneys general around the country who are calling for a moratorium to freeze the frame while they sort this out. The Bank of America, which services 14 million loans, immediately when the fraud was unearthed, said, okay, we're going to freeze our foreclosures until we can investigate our pools. And within days, coincidentally, as their stock started to decline, they said, you know what, we checked it out and everything's fine. So, you know, there's just a lot of spin going on.
So what's your advice? Somebody at home watching, looking at these notices they're getting, saying that their house is in trouble, how do they even begin to find out whether the bank that's threatening to take their home has any right to do that?
Well, I mean, it's a complete mess because these loans were sold en masse in Wall Street through a huge money-making securitization process. The chain of the loan is really in question. So we would say anybody watching who is a homeowner in distress or has been sued in foreclosure should raise this. People need to be challenging this automatically left and right. People need to try to get legal assistance. As I said before, most foreclosures actually go unopposed, unchallenged by the homeowner, so they lose automatically.
Can you get free assistance?
You can get free assistance from legal services and legal aid offices. You can, you know, definitely call community organizations in your neighborhood and get hooked up. It's very, very important that people get assistance.
Sarah Ludwig, thanks so much for joining us. There's more information and a link to NEDAP that can probably connect you with local groups where you live at our website, GRITtv.org. Thanks so much.